I don't know about you, but I'm sort of, I got to admit, I'm an open water fly fisher nut, whether it's a lake or it's a stream or river. I'm looking forward to grabbing the fly rod and heading out fairly soon. But my next guest is someone that, well, maybe I can spend a little bit of time and get the rust pulled off my cast because Mike Montieth has been around the game for a long, long time, and he runs a company now called Alberta Stillwater Adventures. And Mike, good morning, and thank you very much for spending some time with us today.
Well, good morning, Michael, and thanks for having me. I've been a big fan of Let's Go Outdoors for a while, so it's really nice to be here.
Well, thank you for that. And I guess really we're going to be talking a little bit about Stillwater Adventures. And before we get into how the company formed, talk a little bit about your journey to becoming the owner of the fly fishing company and your passion for this activity.
Well, it all actually started when I was 3 years old. I used to live in New Brunswick. My father was in the Air Force. And as a part-time thing, he used to be a guide on the Miramichi. So the Americans would come up and he would guide them on the Miramichi River there for Atlantic salmon. And he put a fly rod in my hand at the age of 3. So I got pretty comfortable with the fly rod. And then he actually left the Air Force in 1976 and joined the Air Reserve. And that's when we moved to Edmonton, and we started fishing the local still waters around Edmonton for trout, and that's where my passion really started. And then in the late 90s, early 2000s, if you can remember back that far, there used to be message boards were really popular back in those days on the internet, as the internet was still fairly new. And I had 2 of them. One was the Fish in Alberta message board, and one was the Alberta Fly Fishing Forum. And I used to get a lot of emails, a lot of inquiries about stillwater fly fishing, especially from float tubes, because float tubes were really popular back in the day. And so from that, I started up a website called Fly Fishing Edmonton. And it listed some of the local lakes. It had fly patterns, articles, float tube information, fly fishing knots, that kind of thing. And it's still around today, actually. If you just Google Fly Fishing Edmonton, that site's still there. I just updated it not that long ago. And from that site, I started getting requests from people to, hey, can you take me out on the lake and show me how to do this and show me how to do that and take me out in a float tube. And so I actually started a guiding company in 2002 called Edmonton Float Tube Adventures. And from there, it kind of moved on to pontoon boats. As I purchased pontoon boats, I actually changed the name to Edmonton Stillwater Adventures. And from there, bought fiberglass boat, decked it all out for stillwater fly fishing. And then in 2009, I changed the name again to Alberta Stillwater Adventures. And that's the name that I'm using today.
So talk a little bit about the draw, I guess, to stillwater, flatwater fly fishing versus river and stream fishing, Mike, because that's always, I got to admit, I probably lean more towards the moving water, but there is a certain, I think, different set of challenges and skill set needed to fish stillwater.
Well, with streams, moving water, it's the traditional type of fly fishing, the stuff that we've seen with Brad Pitt doing in his movie, A River Runs Through It. So that's kind of the traditional thing. But you have to travel, quite a ways if you want to get into some decent fishing. And although it's beautiful going out to the streams and the mountains to go fly fishing, what we have around here is more still waters. It's easier access. The only problem is you go to this big body of water and you really don't know where to start. You don't know what to do. It's kind of a mystery below the surface. Whereas with stream fishing or moving water, once you understand how to read the water, you know where the fish are supposed to be. In still waters, it's not that easy. The fish are foraging. So you need to present it so that they're going to take what you're presenting. And not only that, but they have a lot of time to inspect what you're presenting to them, as opposed to in moving waters where they might just have a split second to decide whether they're going to take it or not.
From as you said, you really keyed in on the local lakes in the early part of your days. Now you look at what's happening in and around the Edmonton area in terms of uh, aggressive stocking programs. Is that a positive in your mind? I mean, you look. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. You may be old enough to remember when Hassey Lake fished back in the day, and now we look at the aeration system that went in and fish stocking. Are those all positives in your mind, Mike?
Oh, those are big positives. And, you bring up Hassey Lake. That was the first lake I ever fished when I was 10 years old in the Edmonton area. My father used to go there all the time. It was our lake, the one that we went to. And back in those days, it wasn't unheard of to catch an 8-pound rainbow out of that lake. We did it several times. I saw it change over the years. Perch were introduced, and then the government brought in pike with the perch, and then when it finally just died off, was it 2015? They started looking at doing some stuff with the local farmers around the area, and they brought in aeration recently, which was. And then they started stocking it last year in 2020. I think it's fantastic. They put some tiger trout in there. They got some rainbows, so there's some diversity. And I think any of the lakes that they can open up, because Alberta doesn't have a lot of fisheries. So we're kind of the have-not province when it comes to fisheries if you compare us to BC and Saskatchewan, Manitoba. So I think it's great. Any lakes that they can stock around the Edmonton area is fantastic.
So who's the average person that would want to go out with you and maybe walk us through a typical day of someone signing up to do a day of fishing with you, Mike?
Well, most of my clients aren't really interested in the guiding aspect. Back in the, not that long ago, guys would come up from Texas on oil business, and they would be interested in going out for a day, just fly fishing on a local lake. But most of my clients, what they're interested in is learning. So they either want to take the fly casting lessons or they want to learn how to still water fly fish. So I offer beginner fly casting lessons. They're 2 hours long, and it doesn't just introduce them to the mechanics of the casting, but also introduce them to the equipment, so that if they're interested in going out and buying a new rod, reel, some line, they know what they're looking for. And then there's the people that want to learn how to fly fish on Stillwater. So I offer these clinics, which are 8 hours long, and they come out, includes casting lessons, includes an overview of the equipment. We'll go over techniques, tactics, setups, all that kind of stuff. And then we get them out on the water for a couple hours. They're not up there for very long, maybe 2 or 3 hours. And we just practice some of those techniques and tactics, and not necessarily for what's in the water at that time. A lot of times, I'll get a client in the spring and I'll teach them how to fish boatmen and back swimmers that may not be in the water at that time. That you can find them early spring and then late fall. But I'll still have them fishing, a washing line technique or something like that, just to teach them how to do it. So when the time comes, they can do it. So I try to take them through a little bit of everything: chironomids, leeches, and that kind of stuff. So,
are you still optimistic that I guess the future of fly fishing, it still has a bright one?
Well, I do, and the reason I do, and I'll admit, we saw a big surge when River Runs Through It came out. Everybody wanted to learn how to fly fish. And then that surge kind of dropped off. But still, I get people that come in that, email me all the time. And I really want to get lessons for my husband because he really wants to take up fly fishing. So people see other anglers doing it on the water. And not only that, but they see the success with it. And they think, I want to do that. So those are the clientele that I'm getting.
So if someone watching this, Mike, wants to scratch that itch and learn how to toss a fly, how do they get in touch with you?
Really simple. They can go to my website, which is www.albertastillwaters.ca. They can send me an email, which is just mike@albertastillwaters.ca. They can also just Google fly fishing Edmonton. There's links to my fly fishing website on there, and it's got all that information that I mentioned earlier on my Fly Fishing Edmonton website. So lots of ways to get a hold of me.
And I noticed in a post that you made not too long ago, you've got a brand new boat to host folks on.
Yeah, actually, a good friend of mine, which is really well known in the Stillwater fly fishing world, Phil Rowley, actually took me out on the water in his new Marlin SP14, and I fell in love with it. I was just, wow, this boat is the bomb for fly fishing. It's a flat bottom aluminum John boat, and it's just gorgeous. So I went out and I purchased one, and I'm so happy with it. I've decked it out specifically for fly fishing. I'm not done with it yet. I still got a lot of work to do to it, but it's just a fantastic boat and so sturdy. Two people can actually stand on the edge of the boat, right at the edge, and the boat will not tip. Like, it's just fantastic. It's so sturdy.
Well, we certainly wish you nothing but all the success in the world, Mike, in delivering some really, what sounds like some really cool educational program and a how-to folks that want to get into stillwater fly fishing in and around the Edmonton area, for that matter. I guess anywhere in northern Alberta that they may want to go out and try their skill on.
Absolutely. I'm open to taking right now. What I offer is usually I do my clinics at Muir Lake, but if they want to go out on a guided trip, I'm open to going pretty much anywhere in northern Alberta.
All right, Mike Montieth, thank you so much for your time, and again, continued success with the business venture.
Thank you so much for having me on.